Hey you guys, it's Holly. I'm back here with another car video. So I have a new phone, and this camera I feel like is really high quality. I really like this camera, it's really good. So maybe some of my videos while I am out and about will be a little bit better picture quality. So maybe audio too, hopefully. So we'll see. I do a lot of my videos on the go. So anyways, so today I want to talk about homeschooling and the school system in general and kind of how I feel about it and what I am doing with my child. I have two children, but the youngest one I don't have to worry about with school right now because he is not even 2. So fortunately, I don't have to worry about that. However, I do have a son going into kindergarten. He is almost officially a kindergartner, and he is 5. So, initially, I have always been a fan of homeschooling. I don't entirely know why, but I've always been very drawn to it, even when I myself was in school. I do know a few people that grew up homeschooled or partially homeschooled and ended up being ultimately very happy and successful. So what I have done with my son is when he started pre-K last year, I initially started off doing homeschool because he tends to get sick easily, and over the years it has gotten a little bit better, but he does still tend to get sick pretty easily, and he also has ADHD pretty intensely, and he's just he's very hyper. He just marches to the beat of his own drum. He doesn't do well sitting still for long periods of time and things of that nature. So we started off doing homeschool for pre-K, and I kind of just basically set up our own curriculum. So we did a lot of online learning, we did book learning, we did workbooks, we did a whole bunch of stuff. And I would say it probably took us around maybe like 45 minutes a day, give or take. And that doesn't include any kind of educational TV or any other games that he was doing, things of that nature. So in reality, he was getting quite a bit more than just the one-on-one schooling time that we were doing. So around the second semester of this last year, when he was in pre-K, he expressed to us that he really wanted to, go to regular school and he wanted to try it. So I was like, okay, well, let's just see. And we put him in the half-day pre-K, which was, we chose the afternoon class because I don't like to get up super early. Neither does he. So we decided to go with the afternoon half-day pre-K class. I feel like full-day pre-K is too much for a child unless it's like a childcare thing. I think if you need the childcare and you're having to work, etc., then it's a different story. But in my scenario, being self-employed and me caring for him a lot of the time, if not the majority of the time at home, I felt like that was just too much for him to start going to a full-day pre-K. So he did go to the half-day pre-K for about 7 weeks before the COVID-19 hit, and I felt like this worked out really well for us. It gave me a little bit of a break to where I could do some things while he was in school. The only downfall was just dropping him off and picking him up, just having to be there at a certain time, and that was really about it. But it was something that was very manageable, and I felt like we could deal with. There wasn't really a lot of homework, not a whole lot of paperwork to sign. It was a fairly easy thing. But once you move into the full day of school, it's a completely different story. So we wanted to put him back in public school again this year through just a regular public school for kindergarten. And we went ahead and signed up for the virtual program because we don't feel comfortable sending him to school with all the COVID-19, he has asthma, and it's pretty mild these days, but it used to be a lot worse. So my son has asthma, and then he also tends to get sick easily, and by sick, usually respiratory infections. So you can see how naturally this would cause us some concern, and I just don't want him going back to school, period, with any of this going on. So we went ahead and chose the virtual option for school, which here in Texas, usually most schools are offering, if I can talk straight, most schools are offering either virtual instruction or in-person instruction, and in-person is delayed a few weeks, if that makes sense. So everyone's starting virtual, and then the in-person students in our area anyway are going back sometime within the next few weeks. There are actually a few in the area that have already gone back. So long story short, anyhow, I got the schedule for what the typical day was supposed to look like for a kindergartner. And when I saw this, I was like, no, this is not going to work for us. So basically the schedule they sent me was, basically the school day starts at 8 and ends at 3:30. And right from 8 a.m. on the dot, your child has to be logged into the computer, showing their face, like logged in, like for circle time, with the other students and everything. So, and then there were like all these different sections blocked out. And now if the student was actually going to school physically, this would be a different story, because you drop the child off and the child goes through the day. The educators are there to guide the child and just kind of like go from activity to activity. However, when I'm at home and I have all these other things to focus on and deal with, yes, I have time that I can devote to his education, but not the kind of time that they had on this schedule. So basically there was only one 10-minute break in the morning. That was the only break. Lunch was an hour, but it was like from 10:45 to 11:45, which in my opinion is considerably too early, just my opinion. And then there was only one 15-minute break in the afternoon, and there was like, it was crazy. It was like a 30-minute video science lesson. It was like a 30-minute math lesson where they had to sit there and they had to sit still and be on video and not even say anything, not even like, be able to move around and fidget. And like I said before, my son has ADHD. So I'm thinking to myself, how in the heck is this going to work? Hardly any break time. And we're talking 5-year-old child. 5-year-old children, and they're expecting this much. Now, I will say right now, I'm almost 30 years old, but when I was this age and I was in school, that is not at all how it was. We literally did not learn like even 25% of what they're expecting out of these poor children these days. And I'm going to be completely honest, I know a lot of other people will disagree with me on this. The children need to be children, and they do not need 7 to 8 solid hours of instruction in one day. Like, it is just crazy. So one of the number one things I've always been drawn to when it comes to homeschool is people always talk about how much time it saves and how much flexibility it offers, because when you're not in public school, you're not having to transport from this class to the other, go to lunch, go do this, go do that. You're basically just able to do everything all at once, and you can take breaks whenever you need to, and it's just more self-paced and flexible, and you don't have to adhere to such strict guidelines. And now I think that for a lot of people that maybe work an 8 to 5 or a 9 to 5 job, and they're in a situation where, that's just the way they live their life, they're very matrix-sized, so to speak. I call it matrix-sized, aka matrix, so they have a matrix-type lifestyle. I think that all-day school would be a good option for these people, because, it gives them, like, their child is in school all day, so it's like a childcare thing, basically. But, however, if you're someone like me who is self-employed, you run your own business, you do your own thing, you need flexibility in your life, I really think that homeschooling your child is a really good way to go. So you do want to consider, if you want to do this, obviously, that you need to make sure that either you yourself have the time and energy that you can dedicate to the education, or that you are able to appoint someone else that can, a caregiver, a family member, etc., or you can all share in the responsibility. So fortunately for, pre-K and kindergarten, this is something that the homeschooling does not take nearly as long. It takes longer the further along they are, the grade level. So the further, a 6th grader is not going to have as much to do as a 10th grader, and a 1st grader is not going to have as much to do as a 4th grader. So if that makes sense. And so ultimately, I have simply just chosen flexibility for our family and for our schedule. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're lazy and we sleep till noon every day or anything like that. It just means that we still want to be on a schedule, we still want to be on a routine and keep everything consistent, but we don't want to have to feel completely stressed out and rushed all the time. And I think this day and age, it's really important to consider that we need these different options in our lives. And you see so many people just running in this rat race. And I feel like, if you have children, that homeschool can really be a lifesaver. I feel like it can really be a big turning point, if you are in the rat race. And so I just kind of wanted to take a minute to talk about why it is that I have chosen the homeschool option. And like I said, I did homeschool my son for the majority of his pre-K year, and honestly, I found it to be a really easy thing to do. I found it to be not very time consuming at all, and so it's definitely something I would recommend to any parent that needs some flexibility. Now, the reason why a lot of people send their kids to pre-K is because they do in fact need childcare, like I've said before, and if that is the case, then go for it. But if you need the flexibility, definitely, look into homeschool. You can choose a curriculum. There are so many different ones to pick. You can, really the possibilities are endless. So it's really up to you, and that's the cool thing, is you're in control. And I like being in control over our lives. And, you want to talk to your child first, see what they want to do. See if they're okay with trying out homeschool. And, maybe they are, maybe they're not. Maybe, ultimately it's your decision. But, talk to your child, see what they say. And so ultimately the primary reason why we chose homeschool this year is because of the COVID-19. Now, do I feel like we may ever choose the public school option again? Possibly. I don't know at this point. It's hard to say. But I do know that this year, with the pandemic and everything, it was just too stressful for us. And the virtual option was just way too extensive. I was really blown away by it. For the age level, I felt like it was really inappropriate, to be honest. Like, just really inappropriate. So I'm not going to do that to my child. I will not put him through that type of misery. So therefore, this year it will definitely be homeschool, and I feel like that's the only option we were left with. So I am okay with it. I'm actually really happy with it because I have always preferred homeschool to an extent. So we'll definitely see how it goes, and I will be posting updates from time to time to kind of inform everybody just how it's going and kind of like the methods that I'm using and how, just how we're getting along. But I do have a really good friend who's homeschooled 4 children of her own, and she has kind of given me some tips and recommendations, etc. And all of her children are absolutely wonderful. They are very successful, great children. So I feel like this is something that I can do. This is something we can do. And maybe you're in the same boat. If you are, let me know if you have any suggestions. And until next time, if you have any questions, comment below, and I will talk to you soon.